So Be'ezrat Hashem, we continue Pasuk Kaf Aleph. Rabot mahashavot belevish. There's a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts in the heart of a man. V'atzat Hashem hi takum. And the advice, the plan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is what stands. So we said Mila Dibdechuta that Rav Lasri in Eretz Israel says, Rabot mahashavot belevish. At night, right? When you have a baby and the baby's crying. Yes, Rabot Mahashavot Belevish. The man is thinking a lot. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Should I wake up? Should I? Ve'atzat Hashem. But in reality, Hitakum. She wakes up. She goes to the baby. that's
Very
that's Rav,
good.
that's Rav Lasri. טוב, אוקיי. So בואו רציני. רבות מחשבות בלביש says like this. It's very, very yesodi, this is going. It's very deep. He says, when a person wants to do something necessary, when he needs to make a decision, יחשוב מחשבות רבות, he thinks a lot. How to do, what to do, when to do, with whom to do. And through all this mahshava, all this thought process, yes, he builds a direction of what needs to be done. And finds a path, yes, to accomplish the endeavor he has in front, he needs to do in front, that he has in his heart. Says the Gaon, Kulan enam klum. He says this process leads to nothing. And we have to listen till the end. Aval atzat Hashem, but the advice of Hashem, the instinct, the advice that Hashem gives him in his heart, what we call the gut feeling, in for lack of better term, hitakum is what's going to happen at the end. Again, you want to do something, and you put a lot of mahshava, a lot of thought, and a lot of this and that, and you intellectually, go through the doubts and the sfikot. But the outcome at the end will not yield you nothing from that. What will get you to the real outcome is the etzah, is the advice that HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts in your heart. Hi takum. That's what's going to be mitkayem. That's what's going to end up being. When he says etzah, what is the etzah? What's an advice? An advice, by definition, is an opinion that is given by a third party, by a friend, or by somebody that cares for you, okay? Which is obviously not in your mind. Because if it was in your mind, it wouldn't be an advice. It's only an advice because you don't have that clarity. Another definition of etzah is the information HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts in your heart, the tendency HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts in your heart. Again, for the lack of better word, what we call the gut feeling. That's the definition of etzah. Mahashava, but a thought is the thought that a person thinks on its own, his thought process. So says Shlomo HaMelech that if you lean on your thought process to make a decision in an endeavor, לא, אין כלום מזה. כולן אינם כלום. It's empty. אלא מאי? If you want to understand, if you want to make a decision, you need two things. Or you need the etzah, the advice of somebody that loves you, that gives you an information that will bring you clarity, and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu can use that chaver to guide you. Or you need to listen to your gut feeling and I'm not saying go with it blindly, but implement it in the assessment. So what do we see from here? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you the answer in your heart all the time. Every time you have a decision to be made that you need to make, the answer is within you. The problem comes from two things. Or you're too distracted to be aware of that feeling within you, or you're too egocentric and you let your intellect run the show and you're not open to listen to information around you or look at pinpoints or at flashlights that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends you to guide you. So comes Shlomo HaMelech to tell you, be careful. Yes, be aware to the advice and sensitive to the gut feeling. Because that's what will give you the true information and the true direction to your endeavors. Yes, Andy.
No, I don't understand. In that case, where's the fine line where we should not think about the planning? Failing to plan is
A plan to fail.
So,
Bravo. Nachon, you're right. But there is like this. When you plan only based on your capacity of understanding. So you are limited. Okay? Yes, you're right that you try your best, but you are limited to whatever information you have and your ability to assess that information.
okay, but it should say Rabot Machashevot and get it sa.
So, but he says, Rabot Machashavot, that's what he says.
No,
Rabot
but
Machashavot,
not on the gut feeling.
Huh?
Taken.
That's what, 1 second. So that's what the Gaon says. 1 second. No. So what is the Gaon says? If that's what Shlomo HaMelech says, like you say, Rabot Mahashavot Belevish, there's a lot of Mahshava, Ve'atzat Hashem, and the Atzat Hashem itakum, right? So if you have Rabot Mahashavot Belevish and Atzat Hashem, you have the two, itakum. That's what Shlomo HaMelech writes.
Okay.
Comes the Gaon and explains. That's true, but the problem is that most people focus on what? On Rabot Mahashavot Belevish. And they lean on it. And they think that this is this is all you need to make a decision. But that's not true. That's not good. Why? Because that's very limited. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you the siyata dishmaya and sends you or the shaliach or the message within you. The message is always within you. The question is, do you listen to it, or you need a shaliach to come and give you that message? How many times you need to make a decision, and you have a gut feeling that goes against? Yeah, my heart says something, and my mind says something else. Yes, And a friend comes and gives you an advice, and he tells you something that goes against your logic, and you say, you know what, I felt like this. This is how I feel, but like logically, I think different. Yes, says says the Gaon. Yes, you need to use both criterias and understand that the gut feeling is a compass. It's not just a feeling. It's a compass that Hakadosh Baruch Hu has given man in order to understand what Hashem is expecting from him. Now, what needs to be refined and more understood is the Etzat Hashem Balev, right? What is the difference between the Etzat Hashem that is in the heart and a miscellaneous instinct or feeling? That's the big shela. That's the big shela. The answer to that is the how honest or how aware you are of your own negiot. The more you are aware of your negiot, of your self-interest, and the more you'll be able to know and determine if that gut feeling is fueled by a feeling, by a desire, yes, or it's a pure instinct. That's the answer to the shayla. So yes, it sounds very systematic and like a almost Cartesian formula. Yes, but in reality, it's very intricate to apply this because chas v'chalila to say you cannot think. You need to think a lot. You need to plan. You need to use your chokhmah. You need to have your machshava. 100%. Now, the Gaon, I'm sorry, one second.
What
He's
if
very careful.
what if the
One second, 1 second, and then again. The Gaon is very careful with the words that he chooses, and where Moshe Melech is highlighting the focus. He doesn't say הרבה חוכמה בלב איש. He says רבות מחשבות. The מחשבה, says the Gaon, the לשון of the Gaon, מחשבה היא מה שאדם חושב מעצמו. It's what you think on your own. Meaning what? Meaning you didn't get Etzah from the Torah, you didn't get Etzah from Chachamim, you didn't get Etzah, it's mahshava, it's a thought. Yes? You have a lot of thoughts, and your thoughts can take you everywhere. And the thought by default, yes, is the thought process, yes, is used without too much depth. It's a mahshava, it's a thought. It's a thought.
Is it a combination of Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov?
It could be. It could be the expression of the mix of both, the influence of both. Machshava is an expression of the two. Yes. Brian, I'm sorry.
what if the desire is driven by good? What if the desire
It's still a desire.
what if the desire is the goal and not necessarily a bad one?
But it's still nachon. But a goal you have determined to be a good goal. You understand?
But with logic.
Nachon with logic. With logic. But sometimes it might not be what's good for you.
So you're saying that the instinct is always what's good
No,
for
that's
us?
not what I said. That's not what I said. What I said is that Hakadosh Baruch Hu, not me, I'm saying, that's the Gaon is saying, the Moshe Melech, that Hakadosh Baruch Hu gives a compass in man to understand what Hashem expects from him, which is called the Eitzat Alev, the advice Hashem puts in the heart of the person, an instinct, an extra instinct that will guide the person or away. Sometimes you don't understand why. Yes, but a gut feeling tells you not to do something. On paper, it makes 100% sense. I cannot explain to you. That's my God. I cannot do it. Yeah. Or the other way around. Something makes no sense. Everybody says it's a full failure, but the guy has an instinct that is, it's for him. And guess what? Maybe not all the time. A lot of those success stories came from that gut feeling that went against all odds. Okay. So we're not saying that that's all you have to listen to. What we are saying is that there's a voice within you that guides you. What the Gaon doesn't address, and or Shlomo doesn't speak here in this specific pasuk, is how to identify clearly that voice in order to implement it in your assessment when you're thinking of doing something. Maybe that voice is aligned also with your machshava. If you have machshava tova, I don't know. Yes? But what Shlomo HaMelech is saying is like, don't only depend on your machshava, because your machshava is limited, and and if it's limited, it's very specific to you. And sometimes this is not what HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects from you.
Women have this etzah more
Yes.
developed.
Yes. Yes.
Why?
Naturally.
Why? That's that because Da'atam Nashim Kala, they have a light da'at, yes, but they have an extra. The woman is a creation from men. Is an upgraded version of men. Men came from Adama, right? Isha it comes from Adam. Yes. So that's also why the woman, Al Pi Yasod, doesn't have to do all those mitzvot, because she doesn't need the upgrade of the mitzvot in order to fulfill her potential. Yes? So the fact that naturally they are an upgraded version of the human, by default, they have more senses. They're more acute. Yes? So by them, that sense is more natural than it is to us. To us, you have to develop it. You need the mitzvot, you need the Torah, you need da'at, yes, to reveal it. Something that is more, something that's natural by ladies.
That being said, should we be listening to their instinct or consulting with their instinct much more often?
So yes, but knowing how to take also their advice and their and the limitations. A woman's imitat adin, nashim na'in tzara. They have a very very judgmental eye, right? So you have to know how to take that information. But yes, and this doesn't fail. A wife, she cannot explain to you why she doesn't want you to be next to someone, and you think he's your best friend, and at the end you get stabbed, and you don't understand why she said that. But from the moment the guy stepped foot in your house, they're very judgmental. I don't like this guy. Why? I don't know. I just don't like him. I don't want you to be around him. But why? He's a nice guy. Do business with him. I don't like him. באמת, דבר שבכל יום. דבר שבכל יום. Yeah, and that comes from that sophistication in the creation of women. So Avraham listened to Rachel, to Sarah. כל אשר תאמר לך שרה, שמע בקולה. כן דוברות בנות צלופחד. So, yeah. So we see that there's a few ma'arachot, a few systems that a person uses to make a decision, right? And here we don't even address the instinctive reaction without any thoughts. That vadai is a pasul. Yes, we don't even address it. Here it's in the I guess the battle between the overwhelming place that the machshava has, that may not allow the person's awareness to take into account that gut feeling, that etzat halev, which may lead eventually to a failure. Yes. So what we have to do is to learn, to educate ourselves, to always try and identify that etzat halev, that instinct within us, that gut feeling, and address it, and not take it for face value, but address it and say, is this gut feeling pure? Is it motivated by personal interests, by ego, by midot, or I cannot explain. It's just I have,
Takes major discipline.
This is what Mishlei is all about. That's what Musar is all about. Discipline. Yes. But again, once you apply it, and it's part of your thought process before you make a decision, just like before, for example, right? You buy goods, right? You buy diamonds. Today, instinctively, you know exactly what to see and what not to see when you buy. Something that you needed to develop, yes, when you started the business, you needed discipline. You couldn't just jump and buy because it was 40 off, and the guy was talking, smooth talk. No, נכון or not? It's discipline. So too, it's a thought process. It's a methodology that you applied, and that made you successful, whatever, in your business. And now it becomes it's instinctive. Yes, that methodology, you don't even think about it, and you do it. So here, says Shlomo HaMelech, let's implement the awareness of the instinct, of the gut feeling. What we adding is, and let's make sure it's really a gut feeling and a pure one. Now, number one. And number two, if we have a hard time identifying that, then let's keep our antennas on and see where the etzah is going to come from. Because Akadosh Baruch Hu, if he sees you not getting it from the lev, yes, he's going to send you a friend that's going to give you a etzah or a situation. Yes, that you have to be aware of and alert of, and say, boom, Akadosh Baruch Hu just gave me my answer. I can do it or I cannot do it.
It's interesting that Shlomo Melech didn't tell us, or the Gaon didn't explain to us. He said you can rely on a friend or someone that loves you. He didn't say to go speak to a Talmid Chacham, speak to your rabbi, speak to someone that can assess the situation.
He says,
which is very
huh?
Very interesting, because in other places we've seen, go be mityaetz with a Talmid Chacham, speak to the rabbi, it was just, which maybe
no, because I tell you why. Because you can get an answer that comes from the Chokhmat Torah, right? So you go through the channel of the Torah. The channel of the Torah is Chokhmat Torah, Da'at Torah, Talmidei Chachamim, וכו'. Here we're coming about to talk about the Hashgacha Pratit. We're coming to talk about the direct intervention of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, yes, in each and every individual to guide them. Ma Hashem shoel meimach, right? The answer is check in your heart. That's what comes Shlomo HaMelech is coming to say. Yeah. Ki im le'ira'oto ul'ahava, right? So he says, yes, it's in your heart. The answer is in your heart. It's in your heart. The etzah is in your heart. Now, if you cannot get it there, okay, sometimes there's a friend that's going to give you an advice. Yes, that's if you didn't get to it through your Da'at Torah. Now, if you get to it through Da'at Torah, then you don't need the etzah. Let's not lose. I just want to, because based on your question, I think I need to clarify that. Yes, when you have Da'at Torah and you have clarity, you don't need an advice. When do you need an advice or an intervention? When you're using your mahshava, your thought process, and you don't have clarity or you're making a mistake. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to send you this gut feeling, this alarm. You're on the, or or to stimulate you to and give you the strength and motivation to go because you're thinking right, or yes, to give you a yes.
You put a new variable. If
Which
you
one?
have that, usually we think we have it. That's why we think on our own.
Yeah, but in reality you didn't.
But
The
in
fact that
reality,
you
we
think you
didn't.
have,
So
the
how do
thing
you
you,
know that if you have it?
that's why you have. Yeah, that's why many times we saw Shlomo HaMelech teach us that you have to go and seek the Torah. Yes,
Important
and how
decision, take it
valuable.
up.
Always, you see, we saw that many times. We saw that many times. נכון? So you're right. You're right. When we restructure or reframe everything, yes, if you have that Torah and you have clarity from the Torah, then maybe that's called the Etzah, if you will. Yes, but you don't. But it's not the Etzah we're talking about here. Here, the Gaon says that the Etzah that Shlomo HaMelech is talking about, Shlomo HaMelech says Etzat Hashem. Now you may say you want to be philosophical, and you can say the Etzat Hashem is the Torah Kedosha. Go to the Torah and you have your Etzat Hashem. That's the Torah. Comes the Gaon and says, and you can say that it fits the Pirush of the Pasuk. But that's not what the Gaon is saying. The Gaon is coming to say that Etzat Hashem is a divine intervention that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has since Maaseh Bereshit Shabbat Kodesh, that according to the Malbim at least, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu infused the Ashgacha Nisim, the Ashgacha Pratit in creation. Yes, and now has a direct line, a direct connection with each and every individual. Yes, and sends to each and every individual his ratzon, his ratzon. Yes, and this is usually this is sent in a form of etzat halev. Yeah. Yes. So comes Shlomo HaMelech and say, be careful to implement or to add that part of the equation to your assessment so that you can end up hitakum, to have a kiyum, yes, a successful outcome. Yes, we're good?
Yes. Think, get Etzah, and trust your gut feeling. And
That's
mix
right.
all of them, analyze them, and take a decision.
That's right. And make sure that your gut feeling is not motivated by personal interests, by negiot.
The same as
Rab,
the
Yes. What?
that I think that if I understand it, maybe the opposite would also be that if you have Itzav, your rabbi of Da'at Torah, and you should follow that, right? But then you have a gut or you have this instinct that's telling you otherwise. Would that be that's the Yitzhak getting in the way?
Could be. Could very well be, yes.
So
Yes,
you
that's
have
it.
to. That's such an important.
It's a
Could
very
be.
fine line and dangerous game because you have to be emet with yourself and
But
the situation.
100%. It's not a game. You have to be emet. That's what I'm saying. You have to identify clearly if that gut feeling, if that etzat halev is fueled by a negi'ah or not. Nachon. If you're not honest with yourself, then you can set yourself up for failure 100%.
Incredible.
It's constant training. You said it before, Robert. Just keep training yourself to identify the emet, and it'll keep happening over and over and over
Nachon.
again
Nachon.
till it becomes natural.
Yes.
If the
So that,
prior pasur, bekabel musar.
Right.
sometimes we have people we have an idea, a thought, and you start thinking about it. Because a random thought idea comes to you, and then a friend comes to you and says, "I was thinking this," and it matches what exactly this crazy random thought that you had, right? Maybe that's also a sign that okay, that's what I think is that what it is. Here Shlomo Melech is telling you there is something to your thought. Try to push forward, and that's why the
Yes.
random friend came or that
Correct.
person
Correct.
came to.
Or at least it's valid enough and worthy enough to put your thoughts into it, because there might be an element of emet, of do or not do, depending on the that's depending on each case.
But at that point, once that's come together, it's still advisable to go to the Talmid Chacham and get the bracha to
That
review
always,
the plan.
that always, because you want to be able to elevate the experience and the clarity to a level of the Torah, which is the ultimate level of clarity possible. That's also uh, a big responsibility on men, because now no man can say Hashem didn't guide me. I didn't know what to do. What do you mean you didn't know? You chose deliberately to follow your thoughts or your ta'avot, and therefore was not aware that there is a gut feeling that was inside of you all the time. Yeah, it's a big responsibility.
And it also works the other way, because even if someone is used to buying buildings or buying whatever it is, right? And it feels right, and he's already in the business 20, 30 years, he's a professional, and everything looks great on paper, but something in his gut is wrong. There is still, that's Hashem's signal.
That's right.
Don't be egocentric.
Nachon.
All right.
Nachon.
You have the cases both ways of the guy says,
Nachon.
I felt it in my gut and it didn't make sense. And it made sense
Nachon.
on paper, but wow.
Exactly. Exactly. Pasuk Kavbet. Ta'avat Adam Chazdo. V'tov rash me'ish kazav. So there's different ways of translating this pasuk. Ta'avat Adam Chazdo, the desire, the ta'ava of man, right? Or you're desiring a man by his chesed. Meaning you desire to be, like you want to be close to someone because of his chesed. Ve'tov rash me'ish kazav. And better is somebody that is poor than someone that is disappointing, that promises and does not accomplish. The Gaon says like this: Chesed, by nature and by definition, is a magnetic force and a force of attraction that brings people, or that attracts a lot around the Chesed. When somebody does Chesed, is a big Baal Chesed, somebody that does Chesed be'emet, he has a magnetic force that brings to him a lot of energy. A lot, okay? And from a force of ta'ava, meaning it triggers desires, yes, around him, that the people desire him, want to be close to that person, yes, not just bechokma, beta'ava, yes.
Could be positive or non-positive energy.
In
The
this
energy that
case,
he attracts.
no, nachon. No, but that's no, yeah, but there's a difference. Again, the not good positive is not ta'ava, is manipulation. Is somebody that wants to take advantage of the Baal Chesed and take him for a ride. That's not what we're talking. Ta'ava kavanah, that your instincts want it and desire it. Yes, good. Yeah, ta'ava, to eat. You want to eat. Yeah, and you're attracted by a food that you desire. Same thing, the Tavat Isha. Yeah. So here, the Chesed triggers Ta'ava in people that that turns into a magnetic force to bring people that desire that Baal Chesed. But that it comes with all the garbage around it. But that's already not the Ta'ava that Shemana is talking about. So it says, if that's the case, then everybody should be Baal Chesed. Yeah. So says the Gaon, chesed is held back for two reasons. There's two factors or two reasons why somebody cannot do chesed. Or because he's poor, he doesn't have the means. Urash, he's a misken. And no man latet, and no man lasot chesed with. Whatever that chesed is, yes? A person can be misken in his time, a person can be poor in his money, somebody can be poor in his chokhmah, in his etzot. He's poor, he cannot help. The second reason, says the Gaon, is somebody that has a goodwill, yes, but he doesn't follow through. Oh, I want to do, but at the end he doesn't do. That's kazav. Maftiach ve'en oseh. Promises to do, and at the end he doesn't. These are the two reasons why chesed is not applied. That just shows you how many poor and rash people there is in the world. Yeah? Because how many real Baalei Chesed you have? Yes. That shows you how poor we are of a society we live in. Or in how big of a lying society we live in, that everybody promises and nobody does. Or most people promise and nobody does.
But isn't there a third case that they don't have they are egocentric or what is it is, and they don't want to do Hesed? They don't even promise.
Yeah.
That would be the third level.
But I think that's part of being poor.
Ah, okay.
That's being poor. You have people they're miskinning in the head.
Okay, it's right.
So says Shlomo HaMelech like this. The dynamic of things is what? Ta'avat Adam Hasdo. Right? That's the pulling force. The Tovrash says when the person that doesn't do the chesed is because he doesn't have, because he's a misken, then you cannot hold it against him. He can't. Yeah, he can't. Behemet, somebody that is to your point, Andy, somebody that is egocentric and he's sick. He can't. You feel bad for the guy. Behemet, you feel bad. You're upset, but you feel bad. But that's still better than Ish Kazav. That's better, says Shlomo HaMelech, than somebody that promises and does not accomplish. Why? Because the person that promises and doesn't do, he doesn't have a tana. You cannot come and say, well, you're miskin. No, you can do. So why aren't you doing? You're not doing because you're not really understanding the you don't care. You're not sensitive enough. You were sensitive in the beginning, but if enough to follow through. So if it's a handicap, and that's what stops you from doing, somebody that is self-centered, somebody that is cheap, yes, stingy. This guy's a miscan. He's a real miscan. But somebody that can do it, and you know he can. He's with it, but he doesn't follow through. There's no excuse, because it's him that basically decided to not decided, but didn't care enough, yes, to give the chesed, to do the chesed. Okay?
Strong. hurts.
Yes. Yes. Because at the end, you have to ask yourself a question. Yes. But can you or cannot you do this chesed? If you can and you don't, then you maftiach kazav. That's a kazav. Maftiach ve'eno ose. If you can't, then you can't. It also allows you to understand better the ma'arechet tzedakah and chesed. And it's also very important. Because in the psychology of things, if you know who you're approaching or you know who you're targeting, yes, you can identify if the person is emotionally, intellectually, or physically disabled, and then you can hold grudge and you shouldn't waste time, versus someone that can and but is not sensitive enough or it doesn't care enough, on which you can apply the pressure, yes, and get to somewhere at the end. Because the one that can't, he can't before, he will not be able to after. Okay? But the Ish Kazav, yes, his behavior is terrible, is worse because he can and he doesn't. But the one that's trying to get or that or enable someone to do chesed, yes, knows that there's a level of pressure that can be put and this can be changed. So you know on who to feel bad about and on who not to feel bad about. Where to put pressure and where not to put pressure.
But the majority is in the first group. I don't know too much people, how many people that they promise and don't do. No, maybe they don't do 100%, they do 60, 50, but they do. They overpromise maybe, but they.
Right.
That's also a problem.
Okay.
For that delta, it is.
Yes,
For the delta they didn't do, the ish kazav.
that is true.
Now, now, if a person overpromises, can be from a few reasons. One reason is because he thought he was going to be successful and things didn't work out. So at the end, he's considered a rash. He's not he didn't. It's not that he gave a promise and didn't do. At the end, he's a poor guy. He's considered a misken because he didn't have the means, right? But if the guy promises because he's all excited at that moment, and then when the guy leaves, he starts thinking, what did I say? No, 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 forget it. Now he can't do it. He's just not. He's not with it. Can he change it? That's ish kazav. That's ish kazav.
Beautiful.
Tov.
12.
So we just finished pasuk kav bet.
Miss you until Monday now. Baruch Hashem, we have YouTube for this.
שבת שלום לכולנו.